Lieutenant Edward L. Smith, Jr., a physician in civilian life now turned surgeon attached to a Marine combat unit, was accustomed to dealing with frightened boys in his hometown practice. But what he saw that first night on Guadalcanal alarmed the seasoned doctor. Throughout the long, distinguished history of the Corps, Marines had boasted of sending only the best into battle, but nothing in training had prepared these Marines, some as young as 17, for the sounds and specters haunting September 18th through 19th, 1942, their first night in the combat zone. Even before stepping aboard the transport in Samoa for the journey to Guadalcanal, an island in the Solomons chain northeast of Australia, the men in the camp had heard stories of slaughter, blood, severed limbs, and violent Japanese banzai charges. They learned that a foe who gave no quarter had shot corpsmen, tortured captives, and hacked to death 22 Marines on patrol not far from Marine lines. They heard that in response, Marines who had fought on the island since the initial landings in early August and had seen buddies die in gruesome ways had vowed to take no prisoners. In the 5 short weeks since the Marines landed on the island, Guadalcanal had eroded into a primeval, no-holds-barred fight, a struggle marked by hand-to-hand combat and merciless jungle warfare. In those initial hours after arriving on Guadalcanal, these wide-eyed Marines stared at the jungle looming a short distance beyond their lines. No one felt safe that first night, for the darkness hid nighttime specters, real and imagined. "We lay on our ponchos and tried to sleep," recalled Lieutenant Smith, though the grotesque shape silhouetted against the starlit sky warned us of danger. Shortly after midnight, a distant rumble, indicating the approach of enemy aircraft, rent the sky. Parachute flares bathed the grove in an eerie green light, an indication that a more destructive bombardment from Japanese destroyers lying off Guadalcanal's coast was about to begin. Shells lit the darkness as they arced toward the Marine perimeter, ending in explosions that shook the ground and kicked dirt and debris skyward. Shells smacked into the nearby airfield, toppled mammoth trees, and ignited ammunition dumps. Wounded Marines moaned in pain, while others, unharmed but petrified, added their screams to those of their bloodied comrades nearby. Suddenly, another sound, tranquil and soothing, penetrated the mayhem. "I could hear the calm, steady voice," wrote Lieutenant Smith, "of our battalion commander, Lieutenant Colonel Puller, through the thunder of battle, ordering his men to remain quiet and in the ground." Amid the chaos and shell explosions stood Louis Puller, affectionately known as Chesty by his troops, infusing courage and composure into frightened young boys facing their initial battlefield test. He walked up and down his battalion's line, whispering encouragement here and words of praise there. The sight of their commander stopping at every foxhole, reminding each occupant to remain composed and keep low until the bombardment ended, calmed his unsteady troops, who figured if Chesty Puller could remain unruffled while exposed to enemy fire, they could keep their wits about them while huddling in their foxholes. Chesty had displayed that same courage and tenacity since his days fighting rebels in Haiti in 1919. He loved to be amid the action, where he and his men met the enemy, instead of languishing behind the lines with headquarters staff. As Samuel Stavisky, a Marine combat correspondent, wrote of Puller, he continued to insert himself into the battle lines along with, and often out in front of, the grunts. He took his command post with him, at times to the consternation of his higher command. In Puller's public opinion, there were too many officers on staff, and they were too far from the action to make quick, effective responses to the changing battle conditions.